This is To Help You Heal, and I'm your host, Marie Monville. We are going to spend 10 minutes talking about healing. What kind of healing do you need? Is it in your mindset? Is it emotional healing? Is it spiritual healing? You know, there's a lot of healing that we all need, and this is where you're going to find it every week, 10 minutes on Tuesday. I'm so glad you're spending this time with me. Thanks for joining me on this episode of To Help You Heal. We are going to embark on a 4-part series. We are going to spend the next 4 weeks talking about how to build a life you love, even in the hard seasons. Because I think for most of us, we have to come face to face with the reality that our circumstances were not what we wanted. And if we want to find these places of healing and hope, we're going to have to walk through them differently than we thought we would be walking in the season of our lives. I don't know about you, but my life has been filled with circumstances that I can't control, things that I would never have chosen for myself. And I am always quick to say that I'm not perfect. I have not done everything perfectly, but God is faithful. And even still, in the midst of circumstances that I don't love, things that I would never choose, He has helped me to have a life that I do love. And I think we can all find these places of loving our life despite our circumstances. And there's some steps that we can take that are going to help us do that. So this week, we're going to talk about surrendering. Then next week, we're going to talk about rewriting the story that we tell ourselves. On the 3rd episode in this series, we're going to talk about finding the good. And then we're going to close it out with choosing purpose daily so that we can create a life we love. I hope that you will spend these next 4 weeks with me going after this and certainly share it with those you know who are also going through their own difficult seasons. You know, it's easy to think we're the only ones in those moments when life is hard and we're facing the brokenness. But the reality is, it's not just us. We're not the only one. Many people know these places of pain. And so the truth is that there are others in our lives that need this too. So I encourage you to share it with them. Make sure that you subscribe so that you're getting these episodes every week. So let me tell you why I am so passionate about this. You know, when I was a young girl becoming an adult woman, I thought that I was going to get to pick my life. I thought that I was just going to have this blank canvas and paint it any way that I chose. But I certainly realized quite quickly that circumstances don't work like that. We don't just get to pick them. Life doesn't just go like a Hallmark fairy tale. There are bumps along the road. And for me, one of the first places that I had to come face to face with this concept of surrender was after the loss of my first daughter. My first husband, Charlie, and I found out in our first year of marriage that we were expecting a child. I was so excited about this. You know, all my life I had really just dreamt of being a wife and a mom. And so I felt like all my dreams were coming true. But I started to have complications to the pregnancy around 20 weeks, and the doctors couldn't figure out why. They couldn't figure out what was causing it, how to stop it. So they would just put me on bed rest and hoped that I would make it through successfully. However, at 26 weeks of pregnancy, I woke up on one morning, November 14th, and I was in labor, except I did not know that this was labor. It was very early. I knew that we needed to get to the hospital, and so we did that. Our daughter was born. There was nothing they could do to stop the birth, and she died 20 minutes later in my arms. And for me, that was the season of wrestling with this place of surrender, of saying, God, this is not what I want. This is out of my control. I don't like this. I don't want this. I don't know what to do with it. And for a while, it was really fighting that place of, why is this my life? How did I get here? You know, how do you go from just the expectancy of having a child and the beautiful life that you're going to create as a family to this moment when she is gone? And how do you move past that? So for me, that was this place of first embarking on this journey to understand surrender. And I think probably for a lot of us, when we hear that word, we think about giving up. But the truth is, that's not what surrender really is. It's not about giving up, but it's releasing what was never ours to control. And that can be a hard thing to swallow sometimes. Admitting that this thing that I need to release was truly never mine to control. It's very hard. I get that. But it's the first step. And the truth is that we're wired to want control. control feels safe to us. When everything is playing out according to our rules, when it's all going exactly the way we expected, control feels safe. And there's certainty in that. I think we all like that aspect of control and certainty. And the opposite side of that is that uncertainty triggers often anxiety and overthinking. Have you ever been in those moments where you start to play out the worst case scenario and you're imagining all of this stuff that's going to happen? You're feeling the anxiety of it, but nothing's even happened yet except for what's going on in your imagination. That place of uncertainty is difficult. We can envision all of those what if scenarios, but the crazy thing is that we never stop to envision the what if it works out? What if this isn't the worst case scenario? What if I find something beautiful here? And so I want you in those moments, or as you think about this for you in this place of surrender, to start imagining the other side, to say, I can trust that God is walking this out with me. And I can find this place of healing when I stop trying to hold on to so tightly what's not mine to hold, not mine to fix, not mine to own, not my responsibility. I'm sure that as I'm saying those words, there are things that are kind of flashing through your mind, these things that you're trying to hold on to that really aren't yours to hold. And so I want to encourage you that even now, as you feel those things and you see those things, just surrender them. Maybe write them down and come back to them later. Spend some time processing that, praying about it with the Lord if you're having a difficult in that place of release, but knowing that there's freedom on the other side of that. And the difference between surrendering and giving up is huge. So let's talk about that too. Because giving up is this place of saying, there's no hope. This is the end. There's nothing good that's going to come out of this. But surrender says, I trust that there's a bigger picture. There's a different plan, even when I can't see it. Surrender is active, it requires our participation. We're opening our hands, we're receiving what God has next. We are looking at life through the lens of possibility instead of this place of giving up where it's very passive. We are not a participant anymore, and we have our hands closed. We maybe even have them in our pockets. We are not looking at life through this lens of possibility and wondering what God has in store for us. So when we take that path of surrender, what happens in that space? It creates more place for God to move. It creates this opportunity for Him to come in and do what only He can do. And it helps us to shift from asking, why me, to what now? And we've all been there. I have too. Why me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this my life? I've said all those things a million times. But the better question is, what now? And I want you to think in these moments about David. I come back to him time and time again because I think he's such a great example of walking out this place of authentic faith. Any psalm that we read, David starts out a certain way. He's talking about the crazy things that are happening to him. Maybe he's hiding in a cave or he's running for his life or whatever it is. And he's focused on the pain. He's focused on the circumstance, the brokenness. But then in that place, he reminds himself of who God is, of the way that God has shown up in his life, the way that God has shown up throughout history. And that reminder changes his perspective because he's suddenly looking at his life through the lens of possibility of saying, well, if God did all that stuff there, what is he going to do in my life? And that's powerful. It's that shift of why me to what now? So there's no shame in that. There is no weight in that. It's just a place of saying, that's me. I need to shift from asking the question of why me to what now? And then it really is this place of intentional decision making, of saying, I want to live a surrendered life. I want to let go of the things that were never mine to control, things that weren't mine to bear the weight of responsibility, outcomes that I can't control. What are you holding tightly to that you need to surrender? What's that thing that comes up to your mind when I ask that question? I'm sure you know. I often say that the answer is more obvious than we want to think it is. It's not always this thing that we have to dig real deep for. Instead, it's the thing that's right there on the surface. So as I ask you that question, what's the thing that you're holding on tightly to right now that you need to surrender? I want to invite you into this space. I want you to close your eyes if you can. If you're driving, don't do it. And just say to God, I release this to you. God, I trust you. And even if you are saying that just out of the desire to be in that place, maybe for you, it doesn't feel 100% authentic. You're saying it because you want it to be real, but it's not real yet. That's okay. Keep saying it. He's going to help you to find that space of surrender. The more you continue to say, God, I release this to you, I trust you, the more it is going to become real. I hope that this has been helpful for you. I hope that it's given you a place of seeing surrender a little bit differently, knowing that there's freedom there, lightness, ease, this space of enjoying what God is doing and looking at life through this lens of possibility. So come on back next week with me. We're going to talk about rewriting the story that we tell ourselves, changing those narratives. I think it's going to be such a powerful episode. Remember, it's just 10 minutes every Tuesday. I can't wait to chat with you then.